Okay, so we are going to get started. First off, I'd like to welcome everybody to Preferred Strategies webinar, New Breakthroughs in JDE Reporting with easy-to-use Microsoft tools, Microsoft Excel, and Power BI. My name is Adam Krieger. I'll be walking through today's session. A couple of things to note. This session is being recorded, so if you're interested in getting a copy of the recording and the survey that prompts you at the end, just go ahead and check that you want a link to that. And also there's a question if you want a copy of the slide deck. So just go ahead and specify that in your survey. And we'll go ahead and get going. Again, my name is Adam Krieger. I'm the founder of Preferred Strategies. I'll be walking through this, but there are other folks on the line to answer some questions. So if you do have questions throughout the session, feel free to post those in the question panel of your GoToMeeting control panel, and hopefully we'll get some responses as we go. And we'll open it up at the end of the session to announce our Amazon gift card winner, as well as answer any additional questions that they can answer throughout. So yeah, again, I'm the founder of the company, and we've been around for since 2002. Let me just get my slides going here. I'll start with an overview, BI market overview, more about Microsoft, quick launch for JD Edwards, which is our accelerator for the JD Edwards Enterprise One and World ERP for things that you're seeing today, Microsoft, Power BI, and Excel. We'll spend most of our time in live demonstration and then kind of come back to a handful of slides to kind of just enforce what we've presented and what it all means, as well as the implementation details around that, and finalize with questions as well. So once again, we were founded in 2002 solely as a company to help JD Edwards Enterprise One and World customers get access to their JD Edwards data with the market-leading reporting tools. We do focus purely around kind of the top tier vendors in the market. We'll kind of pull up a couple slides later of who those are. But really it's the bridge of those market leading tools like Microsoft and Business Objects and Oracle, those back to the JD Edwards ERP. And that's kind of that bridge is package content is really what we specialize in. We have provide products, which are the quick launch for JD Edwards, which is that accelerator. Using these tools, but we also provide services, so training and consulting to help you make the best use of the software that you choose to implement. And then some customers, we just help them with their short and long-term strategy of what makes sense as the best long-term fit for them. So before we continue, I wanted to kind of just pause for a second here, and I've got a few poll questions to kind of break the ice and also get a sense of who's online. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to post a poll. The first question is, I think, what would you rather be doing? So go ahead and I'll go ahead and keep this open for about 20 seconds, and we'll close it and see what the response is from the group. But the options were golfing, shopping, surfing, the internet, of course, traveling, and other. I'm going to go ahead and there's still a couple people clicking around. Let me give 3 more seconds. I'm going to close it. All right, so I'm going to close the poll, and we're going to go ahead and share that so you can kind of see the results. So it looks like most people would like to be traveling, which I do not blame you. Some golfers in the audience, some other, which that could be a variety of things. Let's take a look, as traveling does kind of have some overlap with our next poll. I'm going to hide that one, and we're going to go ahead and post another one here. What is the reason for attending this webinar? Answers are to gain a general knowledge of reporting and if I can expand this here a little bit. Reporting and BI tools for JDE, to learn about new Microsoft reporting BI tools specifically. I would rather attend the webinar than do real work. I just want to win the Amazon gift card. And just to let you know, I do appreciate the honesty as I see people responding to this. All right, we're going to go ahead and close this one and share this as well. Go ahead. So that, we had the 61% to gain general knowledge of reporting and BI tools for JDE, and 36% about Microsoft. And I'm really pleased that only 2% really just wanted to win the Amazon gift card. So got a couple more here. What's your ERP? So let's see who in the audience. Are we running more Enterprise One, World, or maybe not even JD Edwards? So go ahead, we'll keep this open for another 20 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close that and share those results. So this seems to be pretty heavy audience on the Enterprise One side, which doesn't surprise me. And we are almost there. What are you currently using for JD Edwards reporting? So I was kind of curious to see how many of you are already using Microsoft, some of the stuff we're going to show today, maybe some other market-leading tools, some of the JD Edwards kind of niche reporting or analytic tools, out-of-box JDE reports, or other. Now, I'll leave this open for another 5 seconds, and then we'll close that too. All right, let's close that and share that. So this audience, we had 33% on Microsoft, 33% on others, other like business objects, Oracle, Tableau, Click, Cognos, kind of other top tier tools, 9% with JD niche, and 20% using JD Edwards internal reports or OneView reporting, and 4% using other. Hide that, and the very last one, and then we're going to get going here. So again, since we're not in a room together, I can't see you, but you know, just kind of curious of how many of you have some familiarity already with Power BI. Maybe you've never heard of it before, or you've heard of it but don't know much about it, or well aware of it and but don't use it, or are a current user of Power BI. So let this go on for another 3 seconds or so, and then I'll close this one as well. That was our final poll. Okay, interesting. Okay, so with that one, it looks like we had 59% of the attendees today that have heard of it, but don't know much about it. 13% have never heard of it at all. 23% are well aware of Power BI, but don't use it, and then 5% not current. I'm current user of it. Great. So I'm going to hide that, and we're going to go back over to the slides, and you should see now a slide that from strategy overview. Now we're into the. Let's see if I can. Okay. So this is a business intelligence slide that's really just looking at Gartner. We follow Gartner. They kind of do a lot of research analysis of different software applications, not just business intelligence. But every year they come out what they call the Gartner Magic Quadrant. It's a study or a document that they analyze, you know, kind of the top tier vendors. And in this slide, normally we just kind of show what the latest is, but we actually on the left-hand side are looking at last year's results, 2015, compared to what just came out February of this year on the right. The reason why we put both of them up there is that you can kind of see a dramatic shift in this leaders quadrant. And the way that this works is on the bottom axis, we've got completeness of vision, and on the Y, we've got ability to execute. So the goal of this is you want to be as far up in the upper right-hand corner as possible, and that's, you know, obviously ideal. And if you look last year, there's a lot of vendors or software applications that were in this leaders quadrant, like MicroStrategy and Oracle and IBM and SAP and SSAS information builders, and they're not even there. So basically what happened was all, you know, almost 10 vendors now is just 3 within that leaders quadrant, and those are Tableau, Click, and Microsoft. And I think the big driver of this, if you read the document, and we'd be happy to send you a link to the reprint of this on Gartner's site. But basically the emphasis of BI is really about this business user-driven analytics and data discovery. And that's exactly kind of what Power BI that we're going to show you today is what's basically, I think, driving why Microsoft is sitting so well in this. Another thing to note is that Oracle is not even on the list at all in this, and I think they'll probably come back on, as I know they're doing some data discovery stuff with cloud services and so forth. But so what are we really talking about? And Microsoft BI, and over the years they kind of have had different strategies, and that's kind of starting to come together. I think there's still a little room to go on that, but we talk about the platforms. There's a couple different options that customers have within Microsoft Business Intelligence and Reporting. So the platform, you can build your content with Power BI, publish that to a cloud, that's a Microsoft cloud, and still connect back to your local data. And that's one way that you can share and distribute your information. Or with the new SQL Server reporting services that just came out within the last couple months, you can start sharing information on premises, and that's going to think as far as the Power BI type content, there are ways to kind of share that within reporting services, and I think that's going to improve in the near term here as well. So from a financial reporting perspective, there's a few different options that you have if you want to use Microsoft for financial reporting, and we say that we mean like income statements and balance sheets. You can do some of that with Power BI, as we'll show you in a few minutes. Some of that can be done within Excel, and some of it with reporting services, which is more the pixel perfect report writer that Microsoft has had that that's kind of been revamped to some degree with this latest release. From an ad hoc perspective, I think we're going to show you two flavors of that today. And what's a little difficult is, when you look at this vast capabilities in business intelligence software applications, you've got reporting, you've got ad hoc, and you've got dashboards, and you've got ability to display stuff on a mobile device. And so where does one go from a report to an ad hoc query, from an ad hoc query adding some charts to turning into a dashboard? And so you kind of get there's some overlap, but we're going to show you some flavors with the ad hoc of business user type analytics, but also drag and drop and doing some query type functionality right there. And then we'll show you some of that in Excel as well. And then the data discovery is just taking a deeper dive onto the visual side of things. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to show you on the Power BI on the iPad today. My Air server to show it on the screen didn't seem to want to cooperate this morning, so we'll have to, if you're interested in that, let us know. We can kind of schedule another session together. So what drives a lot of this Microsoft business intelligence, especially with the direction they've gone over the last few years, is in this in-memory data modeling. Okay, so Microsoft has a few different ways that they do this, the data models. Kind of the term is kind of tabular. And so on the left-hand side, we've got two columns which are kind of on the desktop. So you've got kind of this happening at the desktop level within Excel, or there's also a Power BI desktop, or something can be done on the server. We're going to go ahead and show you some more visual slides after the live demo of this, how it works together. But we're on the Excel side. Basically, there's a PowerPivot add-in in Excel. You just go to Enable Add-ins, COM Add-ins, and then choose PowerPivot. In essence, this data engine allows you to model data, connect to various different sources, and create different calculations. And then that can be refreshed right there on the fly, on demand. And then if you publish it to another source, then you can maybe schedule a refresh like SharePoint or so forth. On the Power BI desktop, there is a free application, and you just go to Power BI. I'll kind of guide you there when we get started in the live demo. But you can just download this free desktop application to build your own visuals, and then again, that can be refreshed on demand, or you can publish that to the cloud and then share it with other people. And then what we're showing you today is actually connected back from the cloud to our local data store here on premise. And then the analysis services, there's actually, rather than modeling something locally on a desktop and refreshing data down to a specific desktop or workstation, you can actually just move the JDE data and model it on a server, and then all the users that are connecting to that server instance are kind of they're no longer refreshing copies of the same data to a desktop. It's actually, if they only grab a couple elements from that model in the report, then that's all that can be basically brought back to their screen. So it's much more efficient. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Again, so just another recap of what these tabular models do. They really provide simple and fast reporting for users, and that's kind of the main goal of this. Is that you get, once the models are in place, from an end user perspective, it's very powerful of what you can then do with that. They're kind of created with a GUI interface. I would say that if you're an analyst or have some technical understanding and understand SQL, then you might be able to make some good headway with this. But the modeling side of this is really kind of the more difficult piece of the equation. What's driving this is this X velocity engine that provides kind of 10 to 100 time compression and columnar storage. And so what that's doing is, you think about, you have an Excel spreadsheet, and if you had dumped 700,000 rows into a spreadsheet with a lot of columns in it, it's going to take up a lot of space. But pulling that into the engine behind the scenes, and it compresses it down much more efficiently, and then to build pivot tables on top of that cube that's behind the spreadsheet is much more efficient than just a data set on the front end. And the size of that is much smaller as well. So that's kind of what the engine is doing. And again, it's just a matter of whether or not that engine's sitting on your desktop behind your spreadsheet, or you're running on a server, which we'll do most of ours today. And then the language, when you see a lot of calculations, we'll have like month-to-date, year-to-date, quarter-to-date, actuals, budgets. Those are all time-based calculations that are using a language called DAX. And again, the whole point of this is to kind of deliver fast reads and aggregate the data and provide that. So again, summarizing, what's the struggle? Most companies love the tools of Microsoft. I think you'll see how great they can be on today's session. It's really kind of a challenge in how you get to that point. And like I said, we'll kind of try to provide a great overview throughout the session. But really, it's the preparing the data for BI, right? So JDE Edwards data, very cryptic. Most people don't understand what the different fields mean, which are the 5,000 tables they need for a purchase order report or an income statement. Then modeling it together and modeling it so it's efficient and effective to meet the user reporting requirements. And then really learning the tool. That actually is not the difficult part. That's actually probably the easiest in Microsoft, because their tools, once you have those data models in place, are extremely user-friendly. And just to reemphasize that, and I do, Cindy Housen actually runs this BI scorecard. She's written several books, and I really like what she puts out there. But there's a quote from one of her articles that she wrote: "Installing BI software is a small part of a total deployment. The larger cost of ownership and time to deploy a solution comes with building the BI metadata layer, developing reports and content." So again, at the end of the day, you might have a choice of tools today that might change 5 years from now in your organization. But once you do, pick a tool and go with it, it's getting that software up and running is very quick. So within a day or two, you'll kind of have the software functioning, and then the matter is, okay, now how do we make it work with all of our corporate data and tying in our JDE Edwards with our CRM and pulling some HR. Some of it's in the cloud, some of it's on premise. Building out those models is kind of the struggle, and that's obviously where Preferred Strategies come with those packaged already for JDE Edwards. So we're showing you all Microsoft functionality today, and I'm sure we'll get some questions throughout the session of, well, where's Microsoft end and Preferred Strategies start? All the functionality we're showing you today is purely Microsoft functionality. Everything you're seeing in every part of the demo is all JDE Edwards. So it's the modeling, it's the calculations, it's, so basically it's, if I'm dragging something into a canvas and building a chart, that's Microsoft's functionality. But the actual objects that are already there as part of our out-of-box is Preferred Strategies. So it's more of a build versus buy. You can take everything I'm showing you and build it from the ground up. If you want to kind of not have to wait months to get something, we can kind of get something up in a matter of days. So What we do on the back end, we have what we call our data quick launch, and that's basically JDE Edwards data. We translate it, take all the cryptic stuff, make it business user friendly and intuitive names, and then we actually have package models. So the combination of this is what you're going to see on the session. So the back end stuff we call data quick launch, the front end stuff we call BI quick launch. Again, we're kind of converting all those names, the dates, the decimals, the user-defined code descriptions, and these would all have the logical names that make sense to the organization. We also are showing you today direct connect, and we say that meaning that we're actually layering this stuff right on top of the transaction data of JDE Edwards. But for some customers who want a direct connect or real time, we can actually kind of replicate that data to a repository, operational data store, and map everything to that. Or we also have a star schema data warehouse, which is a deliverable of a part of our data quick launch, if that's the direction you prefer, or hybrid. So it didn't really matter when we get into the demo whether or not I was doing this against the direct connect or the data warehouse or the operational data store, because the end user, what they see and what they kind of get would be the same. So a user wouldn't know what the source of these models are because they will look the same regardless of what their choice is or your choice is. But just that's something to know. Actually, the plumbing on the back end is really what's different. And so, okay, we'll kind of come back and summarize after the live demo of the true content that we're delivering here. In essence, it's these cubes, these tabular models, or PowerPivot models for Microsoft is really what we're presenting and selling as part of our quick launch for JDE. All right, enough of me rambling on. We're going to go ahead and get into the live demonstration. So we're going to start by logging into Power BI in the cloud and showing you how we can start working with existing reports. We'll look at some sales information, some general ledger information, some financials, open up an example on purchasing, just to kind of break out between sales and GL, because that's always part of almost every demo, it seems like. And then we'll kind of open up Excel and show you how you can do some similar type tasks within Excel. And then we'll come back to do some final slides and go from there. So the first thing I'm going to do, though, is we're seeing here on the screen is, oh, let me log off, refresh here. Refresh log on. So I'm actually still in PowerPoint, and what this is this actually happens to be a third-party plugin, but what this is doing right here is we're looking at, oh, come on. Let me click on it. So this actually happens to be connecting one of the, to a sales dashboard that's up in the cloud, brought back locally to my PowerPoint. So what's happening is, when I first opened this PowerPoint up an hour or two ago, I had to go ahead and refresh my connection, and then it brought back the current data set that was at that time. So we'll go ahead and show you the same type of view, but some of these, it doesn't just have to be a kind of a copied screenshot. This is an interactive dashboard that we can kind of click around and get results right there within PowerPoint. So that's one option. Let me go ahead and I'm going to exit on here, and we're going to go into a browser. So I have a link here for Power BI. So if you just go to like PowerBI.com, and you can go ahead and get a sign-in. I believe there's definitely a free element to this. There are some limitations. To do what we're showing you today does require a full license because we're using the tabular models with what's called an enterprise gateway to connect back to our data sitting on premise. But over here, you can go ahead and just peruse the site. You can go here to products, Power BI Desktop, and download that. We'll go ahead and show you that at the end. It's a desktop tool that faces the very same modeling tool that we're going to show you online. So I'm going to sign in. And the first thing I'm going to do is on the left-hand side, we've got these different workspaces. So if I go in here and I'm going to choose maybe go down to sales. is going to be a very short demo if this connection is not working. Let me try this again. Let me see if I have any connection here. This is not part of the demo, by the way. Okay. Okay, so basically this is that same dashboard that we were showing you within the PowerPoint document. So the way this works is on the left we've got these different what are called workspaces. So you'll notice we have like accounts payable, accounts receivable, general ledger, sales, inventory, procurement, so forth. And this is where you can organize your content. So we've kind of organized these different workspaces by the functional or modules of JD Edwards. You might have completely different structure of how you want to roll out and organize your reports, but this is where you can kind of secure people to just the content that they should see. We'll talk a little bit later about JD Edwards security, and yes, we can enforce JD Edwards security on the viewing of this data. But really there's the ability to kind of create different folders and groups and apply those users access to the different workspaces that they should see. So then there's what's called dashboards, reports, and data sets. So I start with just clicking on this report. That's what we're seeing here on the screen. And if we go ahead and click on this, if I wanted to, for instance, click on TV video, by just clicking on that, that creates a filter. So it basically did is it highlighted, my mouse over the other charts. It says, okay, Costco gross profit was $784,000, but what was highlighted based on just TV and video, that's what I filtered on, is $280,000. So it's nice because you can filter around, but you'll notice this also, when I click on this chart, we've got a drop-down arrow here. If I click to turn on drill down, and then we click back on TV video, some difference can happen. So now what it did was, instead of filtering with drill turned on, it actually is letting us drill down one layer deep. So maybe starting from the product group to a product subgroup, drill into, let's say, televisions. Now we can kind of see the different specific products. So you can kind of, we'll show you, we'll basically build one of these together and show you how to change a hierarchy there on the fly. So we can drill down, we can drill back up. Okay, so let's go in and if I wanted to make some changes, because right now I'm actually just in a viewer viewing this report. So for me to actually change hats from just a consumer viewing an existing report and actually editing a report or making some changes, I need to click on this edit report. So what that's going to do is turn this into an editable report. So at this point, if I click on this chart, and maybe I want to see that instead of a tree map, maybe there as a horizontal bar chart, right? So we could actually turn that into a horizontal bar. Right now we see this broke down by customer, but if we went into, I wanted to see that instead of maybe customers, I want that to be sales rep, right? So if we go in here and choose under customer, so right now on the right-hand side, now we're in edit mode. I've selected an object, and it says, okay, this is the chart. This is already, it's showing us by customer name. But on the right-hand side, this is all the available objects from JD Edwards that we defined that are applicable to analyzing sales data. Whether it's based on the business unit, the company, the customer, parent, shipped to, the item information, lot, order status, some other sales-related details on your sales transaction detail and history. So this, again, if I want to go and instead of looking at this by customer, I want to see this by sales rep. So if I just drag sales rep and bring it above customer, and just even remove customer from the equation, right? Now we've actually got this that's showing us our sales rep and our chart. Now what if we want, instead of seeing this as a bar chart, I want to turn that into a donut, right? I can also, if I want to, make these changes maybe on a separate tab, I don't have to change the existing report. We can right-click down here on this tab and duplicate the page. So what that's doing is, in essence, allowing us to create another, like think about a spreadsheet, right? You have another tab in your spreadsheet. It's all one workbook. Same thing applies here in that as we make our changes. So let's go ahead and add, I want to get maybe the dollars with my labels here. So we go to our format. We can go to our detail labels. Maybe not just choose category or data values or both. Okay, maybe we want those to basically 1 decimal places. Now let's go ahead and make this a drillable. So how we can go ahead and add a quick hierarchy on the fly is, let's say we want to drill first from maybe product group down to, or even actually starting at the sales rep, who's already there. Sales rep will drill down from the sales rep to the customer to the products. Okay, so while we're here, if I go back to our customer name and just drag that below sales rep, once I drag the customer name below the sales rep, you'll notice now those drill arrows are visible. And let's go down to our item and maybe grab here our product group, and I'm going to drag product group right below customer name. Okay. So what that did is now those are all part of my drill path. So if we go ahead and turn this drill on, and I want to look at Jason Lee sales, I click on Jason Lee, it's going to drill down to the different customers that Jason Lee has sold to, and we can drill into a customer and actually get down to the product group because that's what's been defined. By just moving these around, we can shift them, and it's changing that hierarchy on the fly. It's not like you have to go and rebuild a hierarchy. We drill back up to the top. Now it's sales rep. We drill into the sales rep. Now it's product, right? And then from the product then to the customer. Okay. So it's very interactive in how this works. Again, we duplicated a tab, but say sometimes you might want to start from scratch. So if I hit plus here, and in this case now I want to just build a new, maybe I want to see my product sales or sales by geography. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'll just give this name down here, geography. So if I go back to my customer, and I'm going to grab maybe the state. So if I go ahead and check state, it recognizes that, oh, that's actually a geographic field. You probably want some type of map, and that's exactly what I wanted. Okay, so now we've got the different amounts. Zoom in a little bit. Let's go ahead and specify down here in sales. Do I want to be analyzing my gross profit dollars? Do I am analyzing my quantities? Do I am analyzing sales? In this case, I'm going to grab sales amount year to date. Okay, so now if I mouse over each of these bubbles, it's actually giving me what my sales amount is year to date. And so if we wanted to turn each of these bubbles into more of like a pie chart, maybe by the products. So if we go back to our item, and we grab our product group and drag that into the legend here, what that's going to do is actually give me each of those bubbles now as a pie chart by product. Okay. Now what if we wanted to maybe add a slicer over here that's basically a dynamic filter by region? Okay, so if I go ahead and just click on a slicer, and that's a slicer, you can see the visuals here. So if I mouse over, it'll tell you as you mouse over them what the names are. That's a slicer, which is a dynamic filter. And I'm going to go up and find, or scroll down and find a region. All right, so now we've got central, east, northeast. Okay, so if I look at central as an example, it'll narrow down to just the central states that roll into central. We can also add things like those little, what are kind of KPIs or key metrics. So in that scenario, if I wanted to add a KPI on, I click on this little card, and maybe we'll add one here on our sales. Maybe looking at our year-to-date sales, our gross profit, and then maybe our gross profit percent. Okay, so if I go here, sales amount year-to-date. Okay. And we'll go ahead and format that. So I'll go ahead I can also just copy. So if I do Control-C and Control-V, it'll let me copy one of these. Right. So now I've got those. Now I can just click on the copied one, go back and just swap out what my field is. So to get a key metric on gross profit year to date, I can just drag that over. And now we're looking at sales amount year to date, gross profit year to date, and then maybe our gross profit percent down here. Okay. So now if we go ahead and start clicking around, and what's nice about these key metrics, as you click on these slicers, these give you the total value, right? So we can see in essence we got $1.5 million in sales, which is actually represented all in the chart, but all as separate states and separate elements. And so these KPIs allow you to kind of give that quick snapshot of a specific value. Okay, so the other thing we want to do is while I'm in here, you'll notice as I mouse up to this, there's actually this option to pin. So I can go ahead and maybe pin this to a dashboard. So as you're building your reports, different elements or your whole report or a specific chart within a report can be pinned to an existing dashboard. You can create a new dashboard. So if I go ahead and pin that, when we go and look at the dashboard, we can go ahead and see kind of, and so again, as a user, maybe I was looking back at this and said, okay, I want to go ahead and pin this to a dashboard as well. Okay. So as you're basically putting together what you want to see, and maybe the dashboard is for yourself, maybe it's for some of your managers that may be logging in, and that's where they go to start. So now if we go and while we're in sales and go to the sales dashboard, let me save the changes. So you notice that we had another object there, and then now we've got these two new visuals that we just had published and pinned to the dashboard. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to do some more analysis, kind of starting from scratch in a minute. But I don't know why my reports aren't showing up. Okay. I think I know why. Okay, so here's an example of general ledger analysis. So this will be one way to kind of slice and dice if you think about financial reporting, typically you have, let's say, a P&L. You got revenue, you've got gross profit, you've got expenses, maybe net income. And so normally a P&L, you've got a normal report layout, but this is kind of a different way to visualize some of that information. So in this case, we've got, looking at our revenue as a chart. So instead of actually having just a tabular type format in a report, we can drill into this again. Just on the financial side, a manager could drill into revenue and analyze that each individually as different elements. And just like we've shown you before, you might want to go ahead and create a whole new revenue tab. So maybe you've got 5 different ways that you analyze revenue in your business. So you might want to create and duplicate, edit the report, and duplicate the tab, and then create a dedicated revenue tab or gross profit or expenses and what have you. So you can actually visualize your financial information differently than a standard report, but there are ways to also just do some generic. So here's an example of a kind of a high-level income statement consolidated. So we've got revenue, costs, gross profit, the different breakdowns of a P&L. Here again, it's all dynamic. So we've got our different, the year. I can grab a period, and you'll see the data changing. So what's happening is I'm in the cloud in Microsoft, but this is connected to a local cube that's or the analysis model that's in our office in a data center locally, and there's this gateway. So this is in essence a live connection. So when I click from one of these to the next, it's passing a request all the way down from the cloud in Microsoft down to our data center and then back up. And you can see how quick everything responds. So that's what's great about, this can all get connected. We can go in here and filter down again just with the slicers. I want to look at maybe my central. And because of the way the interactivity, the way this works with our ability to dynamically filter down on year and period and have that calculate year to date based on the specific month that I choose in the year. And the slicers, what might be a 100-page report coming out of JDE, again, I could get all that same information interactively here on one screen. Okay, and maybe I go here to like consolidating. Here's the same kind of thing. Let's say I'm looking at this and consolidating P&L. I've got different columns for my different products, and we can even edit this report. And if I edit this and now go into time, so I'm not going to do as much as I normally would, but we duplicate this page, right, and filter down, let's say, to home appliances. Okay, that's just one column. But now he's okay. I want just home appliances there, but I want to get my columns now to be my subdivision instead of division. So I'll drag that in and delete the other. And so now we, in essence, have consolidating, showing our subdivisions as our columns. This would be more of, you might have the home appliance division manager that might want to see that next level breakdown. Right? So now we have a quick way just to kind of get a whole new looking report but within a few clicks. And lastly, some of the things we're doing are kind of delivering some kind of templates. So if we go and you know, just as a starting point, in this case we've got like on purchasing. So I've got, you know, you can add whatever slicers you want by just dragging them into the canvas. In this case, I want to filter down on, say, one company. I've got a breakdown there. I want to look at maybe just 2008, 2009, 2010 data. Right? We can go ahead and I can drill through one of these reports. If I want to get down to the details here, if I click on this block, I can go here to Explore and choose See Data. And it'll actually give me, here's the visual, but here's actually the actual data as values next to that. Okay. You can also just by clicking around and filtering through our data set. We've got this data table that's also being filtered as well based on whatever you selected above. And this might be where it's going to get you down to the detail. By adding or removing different dimensions to this data table, will either aggregate the data higher or give you more granularity down to the, you know, the order number and order type and line numbers, whatever you want to get to. Then to actually take this further, you could actually go ahead and expand this full screen, right, to analyze it. But you can also, if I hit the dots here, I can export the data. Okay, so actually it'll take this data and export it out into an Excel format. Okay. So at this point, now I've got that data dumped to Excel just by a click. Okay. So you might have a reason to go there. Obviously, ideally, you want to kind of stay within the tool. I'm going to kind of move forward now on the Excel side of things, just to show you how we can kind of get connected from Excel. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a whole new report. So a new tab, and if I go in here and say I want to go to Data and From Other Sources and do From Analysis Services, I'm going to just connect to one of those cubes. Okay, so I'll do SQL Demo. It's connecting to a cube, and then I can choose what kind of report do I want to build. Do I want to build an AP report, AR report, you know, so I'm going to go ahead and build maybe a sales and hit Finish. Okay. So now I've got this pivot table, and on the right, I've got all these available elements right there from JDE to drag into my pivot table. But if I were to save this document right now, it would be 1 kilobyte in size or whatever, because it's not actually like a normal dump of Excel data. There is no dump here. Based on what I drag into the canvas is what it's actually the size that it's saving. So if I go down up here to sales, and I'll grab, let's say, our sales year to date, and I'll grab compare our sales year to date versus, I'll just put gross profit in there too. So gross profit year to date. Okay, so I can see those values, but now if I want to see those by a specific item, a product group, we go down and find our product group, drag that into our rows. So now right there we've got, in essence, our sales by product group. We want to see that within each product group by customer. We can do that. So if I go down here and choose our customer and grab customer name into product group, right? So now we've got sales by within each product group by customer. We can drag customer name above product group. Now we're looking at customer and then the products within that. Or let's grab our product group as a column. Right now we've got each customer as a row and products, or we can drag it above the values to actually get by each product group the year-to-date for the sales and gross profit. Something you can do here, we're not going to do too deep, but if you wanted to add with those slicers, just like we had in Power BI, we go to Insert and Slicer, and now we're going to go ahead and choose maybe like customer. If I add, let's say, channel as an example. Okay. So now we can go in and choose from one of the slicers. Now it's going to filter down to just that specific channels of data. Okay. So nice way to kind of analyze data right here in Excel. If we went in and just collapse this for a second, you can also, I would think if you're going to start doing visual type stuff like charts and graphs, that's where Power BI is going to be much better fit. But you can still do some of that here within Excel as well. Oops. Okay. So anyhow, that's kind of Excel. Now, I did want to show you, if you're in Excel, some financial stuff you can do. So if I go here, you can kind of create some financial reports. So just like we showed you a high-level P&L, here's an example. We have customers that do this, their financial reports here with the Microsoft modeling. And we've got, this is a traditional P&L. We've got, again, an actual month-to-date, year-to-date, budget variance, and then we can drill into this as well. And this is a live connection back to that cube. So it's actually not, I've only got, 50 rows of data here. So when I save this, it's actually going to be pretty small compared to taking all of the data you need from JDE to populate that. Okay. If I want to go ahead and, for instance, here I've got employee expenses broken down by object account. But if we wanted to go in and see employee expenses broken down by maybe division instead, or below object account, see the breakdown by division, I'll drag that into my rows, and now within this P&L, we've got each object account with the breakdown of those divisions. We can drag that up, and now we can get in essence, our summary level within our P&L. Right, so now we can see employee expenses broken down by division instead of by object account. Okay. Here's just another flavor of consolidating P&L. Lastly on this, and I'm going to flip back over, I want to just show you kind of what the modeling that's going on. So we're connecting to a cube that's on a server. So I'm actually not refreshing all bunches of JDE Edwards data back to my workstation. I'm actually doing that on a server. But if I actually show you, this is a model, a local model that is something that we also provide if you don't want to go ahead and do a server-based solution. You can actually refresh data from JDE right back to your desktop and model it right here within PowerPivot or Power BI for that matter. So you can kind of see here we've got these different tabs behind the scenes. This is a PowerPivot engine. Like I said, if you just go to your add-ins in Excel and choose Enable PowerPivot, it's there. So you can go to sales, all these different calcs for month-to-date, year-to-date, cost, gross profit, percentages, company information. All these different tabs are all the different elements that are actually modeled together. So we've just gone through all that work and translated all the JDE Edwards stuff, created the calcs, and model this data. Click on that. Let's see if it'll. So there's actually a fair amount of work that we've done to get to this point. We've been working on this for multiple years. So you guys, you can kind of see here once you get into it, there's a certain level of users that understand how to relate all this together and how to build the calcs. But the tool itself, if I go here to from other sources, this is just a variety. There's pretty much virtually any data source or OLEDB, ODBC compliant analysis services, Excel, other files, Oracle, DB2, Teradata, SQL. There's also some plugins for Power BI directly to Salesforce as an example. So you could actually go right against some Salesforce data as well. This is kind of the back end. Loved it if you wanted to take a deeper dive into this stuff. We can definitely do it after the session. And the last thing is this Power BI Desktop. I'm not going to have time to really show you too much, but in essence, it's just like, let's open up on a second screen here. I'll move it over. It's that same blank canvas that we used when we if we were building a report over the web, right? You can go in and get data from a variety of different sources and then just drag your own. So this is a local desktop tool that you can use to build your dashboard. And then you just publish it. So once you build your dashboard, you can publish it directly back to the cloud. Okay. So just to summarize, a couple final slides, and then we'll answer. Hopefully the questions are being answered as we're going here. What we like about Power BI, again, there's some free tools. So you have some free elements within Excel or the desktop if you want to build those locally, and even the free element to the cloud. Now, once you're going to go more of an enterprise-wide solution, then there are some elements you have to pay for, but it's very cost-effective. Microsoft has structured the licensing for that. Microsoft is rapidly expanding the offering, so literally updates are happening every couple weeks. And we like this canvas approach. I didn't really show you too much in building some dashboards from scratch, but you have this blank canvas, you drag your objects into it, switch things around from different dimensions, different charts, visualizations. It's very user-friendly when it gets to this type of data discovery. And the Enterprise Gateway allows you to publish stuff to the cloud, but connect it back to your local data. So you truly are in the cloud, but getting real updated data. So what is Preferred Strategies delivering here? Models, right? So we've got those JDE Edwards package models with the calcs and the relationships and the naming conventions that either be local on the desktop or on the server. And I'll kind of explain in just a minute what the difference is there. But that's where all those thousands of hours we've spent building out those calcs and packaging. So in a direct connect, what's happening there is on the desktop side, if you're using, let's say, modeling data in PowerPivot or Power BI Desktop locally, what's happening is you're copying data, and each user might have 5 sales reports, and each user refreshes data on their own. They're going to get 5 copies of the same sales data to their desktop. Where on the tabular, on the server, you're actually moving 1 copy of data to a cube that's on a server, and then all the users that build all their sales reports against that cube are now getting real-time or live data to what's in the cube, but not actually having to go back and recopy data to us. It's a much more less requirements on the less intensive on the memory side. So this is really kind of the enterprise solution, but you could also do a hybrid of these if you needed to. This is kind of a direct connect. Again, we're doing right from JDE Edwards transaction data into these models. And we also, some customers said, well, we don't want to do that. So another option is to actually take JDE Edwards data, mirror it or replicate it down to what we call an operational data store, or ODS. So we're not actually doing anything against the transaction data in JDE, and then from that is what feeds the reports. On the desktop, it's still, you're copying multiple copies of that data, whereas on the server side, it's just 1 copy moved over, and then everybody's just getting over that live copy of the data. On the Enterprise Data Warehouse, pretty much the same thing, except for now we're doing a lot more structuring of that data in this Enterprise Data Warehouse behind the scenes. A couple extras here. JDE Edwards row security, the question always comes up, does it handle security? So with these cubes, they do leverage Windows Active Directory. So what we can do is build into that model and tie back into your JDE Edwards security. So if you need like company security or business unit security, you can actually leverage that. So if I'm logged in to Power BI or Excel, accessing that data, if I only have access to companies 1, 2, and 7 in JDE Edwards, I'm only going to get back data for 1, 2, and 7, whereas my colleague that sits next to me has access to just company 9. When he runs the same exact cube or the same report on the same set of data, he's going to get back a different result than what I get. What are some of the SQL Server analysis service requirements? We're not getting into details about that, but it did require initially, enterprise version of SQL Server licensing, but now with SQL Server 2016 that's coming out within the next week or so, there's some new functionality or similar functionality that's down at a smaller scale within SQL Server Standard. So you don't even have to, get to the enterprise level. Everybody says, oh, what about, we got tons of data, and we have customers that vary greatly when it comes to data volumes. But that's what these tools do. It's a columnar storage. It's basically in memory. It's meant for data. So this is great when you actually have data. And so I wouldn't be concerned if you're concerned about your data volumes, but obviously we can take that off on a one-off. Anybody has questions about that? Just to re-summarize the enterprise gateway. You're publishing stuff to the cloud. It's still connected back in a secure channel back to your local desktop. We had some people that asked questions about how we compare to some of the other solutions out there. So we kind of would include our, BI Quick Launch for JD Edwards with like Business Objects or Microsoft Tableau, and those are the packages that we have on top of those market-leading tools. When it comes to, this is a chart that's looking at like JD Edwards integration on one side and functionality on the other scale. And basically, these market-leading tools are always going to lead the market in functionality and business use cases, be able to do drag-and-drop dashboards, but also critical reports and also Excel integration, deploying it on a mobile device like an iPad. So that's always going to be, they just have the R&D that these smaller tools do not. So, some of the niche, some tools are out there that do kind of spreadsheet plugins or more reports related or inquiry related. And so again, it's just one of the things where I think for companies that are looking for the long-term strategy, these are the tools that are always going to be kind of at the forefront of what you can do to truly standardize corporate-wide for all analytics. If you have any questions about that, feel free to chime in. The size of these circles was kind of based on ease of use, by the way. Again, we spent thousands of hours building this quick launch to be installed in a matter of days. So literally, if you're buying a couple modules and direct connect PowerPivot, within a day you could get something. Or if you're doing 10 modules of our enterprise data warehouse, it could be a couple weeks. But really, it's not months or a huge effort. And all of our offerings include the installation with what we're doing. Why preferred strategies? I think this is like one of our last slides before we announce our winner. Market-leading reporting and BI software. So if you want to leverage those market leaders, the top-tier reporting software, have that as your tools of choice. That's what we do, but we've tailored it for JDE. Not just tailored for JDE, but you're on any version, World, Enterprise One, we support it. We also provide the flexibility. If you want to do direct connect, real time, we support that and have the solution for that. If you want to mirror your data, we have a solution for that. Create a star schema data warehouse, we have a solution for that. So regardless of what your fit is, Preferred Strategies has that layer and that model and that pre-built content already available. We like to look at our relationship with our customers more as a partnership. We partner together for your success rather than purely just a customer-vendor type relationship. Because of pricing, I would think once we get into it, our pricing is very cost-effective and we're very flexible. We do price by module, but we can do unlimited users. We can license by named user. We're now starting to roll out subscription-based type licensing. So if you're interested in any of that, we can kind of take that offline. All right, so I know I'm 3 minutes over, 2 minutes over. Let me see if we can get a winner here. All right, so let me see. Got a couple random draws here. See if they're online. Okay. All right. So, Erica Veins, Parkland Fuel. Make sure she's still online. Yep. All right. So, Erica, we'll reach out to you with your $50 Amazon gift card. Let me see if there are any other questions. Let me open that up. Okay, so how long did it take to build out the metadata for the dashboard you presented? Like I put in there, we spent thousands of hours working on this content, and we've gone through various cycles and iterations. but it's one thing that it's not just purely an equation of well, how many hours. It's actually a combined knowledge of how many years we've spent understanding JD Edwards and the modules and how those relate, and how when you post an entry in one module, how the effect that has on the other modules and how the data trickles through. So it's understanding the model and the JD Edwards side, and then also having the Microsoft knowledge of how to build out Tabular. Tabular is a new type of functionality from Microsoft. The traditional cube was what's referred to as a multidimensional OLAP cube, and this newer functionality with the tabular is kind of the new in-memory. So I think that's the direction Microsoft seems to be going. Today there's still two, both of them are available. You can do the multidimensional, but we found it's actually because obviously we try to hire them if we can find them, but there will be, I think, more people learning these skills and DAX, and it is a fairly intuitive language once you kind of get your hands dirty with it. But yeah, it's something that we've spent quite some time, and like I said, we started our Microsoft solutions probably about 3 or so years ago, and in the last 12 months with the latest updates from PowerBI didn't come out till last July officially. So, and just from what's happened since last July till now has been pretty crazy. So I saw some question about security, row security and JD Edwards. Yeah, we kind of talked about that. If you need to address row security, we can handle that. So I think that some of the team was responding to some of the questions early on. So if you have any other questions, feel free to put those into the comments or whatever of your survey. And if you want, like I said, a copy of the slide deck or the recording link, I'd be happy to send that to you. So make sure. And I do appreciate everybody who stuck around for an extra few minutes. Yeah, so we're here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And we'll look forward to follow up with you soon.